Next presentation is going to be from Eric Goldstein. He's the Vice President of Investor Relations at SES, which trades on the New York Stock Exchange under SES. So we welcome him. He's a good friend of ours.
Excellent. Thank you, Charlie. Appreciate it. Just want to say thank you to the Water Tower team for having us here today and hosting this great event. So as Charlie said, I'm Eric Goldstein. I'm VP of Investor Relations for SES. We are a lithium metal battery company, and really at the heart of it, we're a material sciences company. We're working on lithium metal anodes for batteries for electric vehicles, for urban air mobilities, for drones, things like that. At the heart of what we're doing, we are effectively a weight reduction technology. Our technology is a cousin, we would say, to lithium ion. And weight reduction in automotive basically means for an ICE vehicle, take out weight, you're getting more miles per gallon. For an electric vehicle, you take out weight, you're getting more range. Or you could use a smaller battery, take out cost for the same amount of range. And that's effectively what we are working on. The company was founded in 2012 by our CEO, Qichao Hu. He started the company out of a research lab at MIT. He was originally working on more of a solid state solution, but came to the conclusion that that couldn't be scaled. In 2015, he developed a proprietary solvent and salt liquid electrolyte, which is non-flammable and very stable on lithium. And that is the heart of the technology that we have today. The heart of SES is really in the electrolyte. General Motors invested in our company for the first time in 2015. And we've been working very closely with GM since then. We have investments from Hyundai and from Honda as well, and we have joint development agreements with them as well. So we have three big car companies that we're working with. Our headquarters are in Woburn, just outside of Boston. That's our headquarters, and we have basically labs there, and our electrolyte team is headquartered in Woburn. We have two pilot facilities, pilot scale facilities, both in Asia. One is in Shanghai, where we work with Honda. Another one in South Korea, where we work with GM. And there's a second facility in South Korea where we work with Hyundai. Why is lithium metal important? And as we think is really the next big thing for battery technology. Lithium is the lightest metal on the periodic table. So we're basically replacing the graphite that's found in a traditional lithium ion battery with lithium metal. And that's where you get the big weight reduction and you get a big increase in energy density. So just some quick investment highlights. So we are a lithium metal battery company with leading energy densities, and we have comprehensive supply chain partners. Our manufacturing process basically takes advantage of very cost-effective and conventional industry processes. So most of what we're doing is almost identical to the way a lithium-ion battery is put together. We have 3 A-sample joint development agreements, one each with GM, Hyundai, and Honda. We've said we are going to transition, and we announced we are transitioning to B samples with one OEM, and that's a process that's happening right now. We're collecting and building AI algorithms to monitor the health of our batteries and to enhance safety. We have a very experienced management team with decades of battery development experience that have come from the lithium-ion industry, have come from national labs, really talented people. And we believe that we are funded to commercialization. We ended the third quarter with approximately $342 million of cash. So as you can see here, just looking at a brief history of battery technology, basically every 10 to 20 years, there have been kind of breakthroughs in batteries. And the key is that every technology is basically lighter and smaller compared to the technology that preceded it. And we think lithium metal is going to be the next big thing. So our batteries are denser. On a watt-hour basis, we think they're very scalable, lighter, safer, faster, and smarter. As I mentioned, some of the things we're doing with our AI algorithms. We're backed by many strategic partners. General Motors since 2015. Hyundai, who has invested in the company several times, and we work very closely with them. And the partnership has the potential to expand beyond just electric vehicles. And Honda, who invested in the company for the first time in 2022, they were actually the biggest investor in our pipe after they had been testing our batteries for a year before that. Our largest shareholder is SK, the big Korean battery company, and we have investments from several other companies, including the venture capital arm of LG. In the interest of time, I'll just highlight three people. Obviously, our CEO, Dr. Chi-Chow Hu, who founded the company 12 years ago. Rohit Makaria. Rohit is our Chief Strategy Officer. He worked at GM Ventures in 2015. He worked at GM for over 19 years, but was at Ventures in 2015, and he led the actual initial investment on behalf of GM in the company in 2015. He was on the board of SES when it was a private company, and he's now our Chief Strategy Officer. And Dr. Hong Gan is the third person that I would highlight. He runs our electrolyte team. And as I said, the electrolyte team is really the heart of SES. He came from Brookhaven National Lab, and he's at our headquarters up in Woburn. So here's just a brief overview of our footprint. So as I mentioned previously, headquarters in Boston. We have two pilot scale facilities where we're making, between, depending on the facility, between 500 and 1,000 large batteries per month. So batteries that range from 50 amp hours to 100 amp hours in terms of capacity. Here's an overview of, if you look on the left side, what a conventional lithium-ion battery looks like. And then if you look all the way on the right, you could see the SES approach. So basically, there are four key components to a battery. At the bottom, if you look on the left at the bottom, you have a cathode. You have a separator. In the middle, you have the anode at the top, and then there's the electrolyte in between. The electrolyte being the mechanism by which lithium ions travel back and forth between the cathode and the anode. If you look at our approach, we're basically replacing all those big black bubbles, circles on the left, which represent graphite, with a thin piece of lithium metal, about 20 microns in thickness, so thinner than a human hair. And what enables the lithium metal to work is our electrolyte. And so when you just looking visually at it, you could see we can make a much smaller, lighter battery. Just moving on, this just breaks down our approach in a little bit more detail. You could see we have a wide format lithium metal anode. The lithium metal is basically extruded from a lithium ingot until it's down to about 20 microns in thickness, and it's a pretty wide format. We then laminate that onto a copper foil with proprietary equipment that was developed by the company, and that's how we form the anode. There's a composite anode coating, which is proprietary to SES. We're using a polymer-based separator, which is a very common separator, similar to what you'd find in a lithium-ion battery today. And we're applying a solvent and salt, proprietary liquid electrolyte, which is non-flammable and very stable on lithium. And then we're using high-capacity anode cathodes. and we're agnostic in terms of cathodes. We work with our partners on either high nickel cathodes, which are found in most EVs that you'd find in the United States today. And we work with LFP cathodes, which are lower energy density, which are maybe more prevalent in China, but they're finding their way over here as well. And so we're agnostic on the cathode side. So we have an innovative and proprietary electrolyte. It's a high concentration solvent and salt liquid electrolyte. It's kind of the opposite of the electrolyte that you would find in a conventional lithium-ion battery today. The solvent is coordinated by the salt. There are no free solvent molecules, and importantly, the solvent molecules are non-volatile and non-flammable. So this is just a picture of kind of the type of reaction that you get inside a battery cell. So our proprietary electrolyte effectively changes the morphology of what you'd find in a cell. So our CEO would call it, we get what's on the right, which is more of a mossy lithium, which isn't really dangerous to the health of the battery, compared to what you don't want to get. And what we have solved for is you don't want to get what's on the left side, sorry, which is a dendrite or a sharp needle-like structure that can form. And if it grows from the anode into the cathode, so pierces the separator into the cathode, you'd get a short in your battery. Just looking at lithium metal makes nickel-free chemistries more competitive. So basically, what this chart is just showing, if you look on the all the way on the right, the green circle on the right is the energy density of our lithium metal cell paired with a high nickel cathode. So we're roughly around 400 watt hours per kilogram. And if you look in the middle of the chart, where today's lithium-ion batteries paired with a high nickel cathode or around 260 watt hours per kilogram. So we're roughly about a 50% increase. But what's interesting is that when you pair lithium metal with LFP, it's a lower cost material. When you pair lithium metal with LFP, you could actually get energy density that's slightly higher than today's lithium-ion batteries paired with a high nickel cathode. So slightly higher energy density, but less money. These are our three partners. As I mentioned previously, we have joint development agreements with General Motors, Hyundai, and Honda. GM we work with in South Korea. We've been working with them since 2015. They've invested in the company multiple times. GM has an appointed director that serves on the board of SES. Hyundai has invested in our company multiple times. And we have a joint pre-production facility in South Korea. Honda, after testing our batteries for more than a year, was the biggest investor in our pipe. So that's going back to 2022. They invested $75 million after working with our batteries for about a year. They have become a real mentor for SES. The Japanese, historically have a different type of relationship in terms of how they work with their suppliers. They have named us one of their three key battery partners for the future, where technically they would call us their semi-solid state battery partner. So they're helping us today. They spend a lot of time in our Shanghai facility. They're helping us design and spec equipment for a line 4, which we've said will be for B samples, and that should be up and running in 2024. So this is just a slide that just depicts the development time frame for new battery technology. And this is actually this is the process for any new automotive technology. You're going from R&D into A sample, B sample, C sample. Just most automotive technologies don't take 10 years. Battery development is about 10 years. If you're working on a new seat motor or something, that could be pretty quick. But with batteries, obviously new technology, safety is critical, life cycle is critical. There's a lot of different variables. It takes a long time to just go through this process. So right now, we are between, kind of 3 and 4. So we have 3 A sample JDAs. We've said we're entering B with one of our OEM customers right now. And that'll probably be a 12 to 18-month process. And then after that, hopefully C sample, which we consider to be commercialization. And in C sample, we'd be putting our cells into modules into packs into cars, and actually doing real world testing. Skipped a couple of slides here. So this is just shows a picture. This is our Shanghai facility, line 1. This was completed March 2022. On 2 shifts, we would be able to produce about 1,000 cells per month out of Shanghai. We're doing A samples currently, and things could have the potential to shift around a little bit, but line 4, which would be B samples for automotive, will be in Shanghai and should be up and running by the middle of next year, and possibly line 5 in Shanghai as well. That would be for an urban air mobility customer. South Korea, we have 2 lines where we are producing A samples for 2 automotive OEMs, and we indicated November was the first month we actually produced 1,000 cells. And the volume of cells is important. It just shows, hey, can the technology be scaled? But also we're taking these cells and we're doing a lot of testing with them. We have bunkers in Shanghai and in South Korea where we take these cells right to the limit. We do all kinds of testing, different charging protocols, different temperatures, and we take the cells to their limit till they fail, and then we find out why they failed. Failure is not a bad thing, it's a good thing. We find out why they failed, and once we figure out why they failed, we can fix that. So many other battery companies are just operating and making cells in a little lab. We're producing them at a pilot scale, and we're doing all this testing, which is going to be critical for every company to eventually have to get to this spot. So we have the AI piece of SES. It was always SES AI. We didn't just change the name because AI got real big in the last 6 months or so. AI has always been an important component, being able to gather data on the batteries, understand why they fail, and we've developed algorithms to basically be able to predict a failure before it happens, which is really critical because obviously you don't want batteries blowing up in cars. You don't want to have issues like some car companies have had with massive recalls. So you want to be able to predict a failure before it can happen, and that way you can deal with it, whether you tell a driver to bring the vehicle into a dealer or you shut off some particular cells or a particular module in a vehicle, however it will work. But having this data, being able to do this is critical. So here's just targeted milestones, and we've already announced the big milestone for this year was to transition to B samples. We've basically announced that's happened. We've signed the B sample agreement with one of our customers. Here's our financial guidance for the year. We should probably end the year roughly around $300 million in cash. And with that, happy to take questions.
Eric, one of the things that seems interesting is the design for manufacturability, right? Because you look at a lot of battery technologies, they're great in the lab and they can do some pretty incredible things. But how has SES addressed making something that can actually be done at commercial scale and at a reasonable price? Because eventually that's for large scale adoption, those are the keys. Right?
Yeah, that's why it's a great question. So obviously making something in a lab and you can put out all kinds of data that show high energy density and long cycle life or whatever is great, but is it practical? And our approach is much more practical than some others in the sense that what we're doing is really just a small derivative of lithium ion today. Most of the people that are working in our organization have come from the lithium ion industry. Most of the equipment we use today is from lithium-ion vendors. So the manufacturing process is almost identical, other than the formation of the anode, which I talked about. We take extruded ingot, form lithium metal foil, we laminate that onto a copper foil, and then that becomes the anode, and we're replacing graphite. So at scale, we believe this will be very cost competitive with lithium ion, which it has to be. And that's for any battery company. If it's going to cost multiples of what lithium ion is going to be, then the car companies for sure are not going to use it.
You talked a little bit about the safety or the improved safety metrics. Can you compare how much safer these batteries are to their standard lithium ion? Because I know that's becoming a bigger concern with a lot of people. I mean, particularly with the smaller side, like e-bikes and the scooters, those battery fires being an issue. Can you talk a little bit more about how your battery is different from there and that advantage?
No, well, I mean, batteries have to be safe, right? They can't blow up. There's hazard levels that we have to be at. That was part of the process of actually getting to B sample, was proving that we can get down to the hazard level we needed to be at with one of our customers, and then going to the next level. Having the algorithms, monitoring the data, being able to predict something before it'll happen. So, for example, on the smaller cells, the cells that we make in our labs up in Boston, just outside of Boston, there's between 4 and 9 amp hour cells. We've been making those cells for many years, so we've had a lot of data. So we have like 99% capability to predict a failure in those cells before they happen. The big cells, which we're making in Asia, we just started producing in 2022. So we had no data. We just started making them. The algorithm at one point a while back was at like 60% capability, and now we're much higher than 60. I don't know the precise number, but just the fact that we've been able to produce more cells, we're collecting more data, gives us that ability to be able to know the health of those cells, and to see a problem before it's going to happen. And going forward on the new lines, the new B sample lines that we're going to be building, quality checkpoints. So we're going to have more data about every cell after it comes off the line. So if there's, call it 300 checkpoints on our A sample lines, we're going to have something closer to like 1,300 checkpoints on the B sample line. So we're going to know, obviously significantly more about every cell, how it was put together, and where it falls within tolerances, and that's going to, only improve the accuracy of the algorithms and knowing the health of the cell. Kathy?
Oh, I don't need a microphone. I have a very big mouth.
Yeah, no, so the question's on raw materials, and then being able, where do the materials come from, and then obviously for the future, if you're going to build cells here for the car companies, if they want to get the whole $7,500 rebate, they're going to have a more supply chain that doesn't involve certain countries. So that's obviously still on the come, right? So a lot of those supply chains are going to come together. Right now, we're in pilot scale. We're mostly manufacturing big cells in Asia. So like where the materials are coming from isn't an issue. But if we were to commercialize, we would have to develop alternative sources. So which is going to happen anyway, right? So for the cathode, we're agnostic. And I would imagine that the way it would probably work, given that our customers are much larger than we are, they would be able to purchase the materials for us. So for the cathode, for example, they're going to be buying cathodes right, for their lithium-ion cells. It's the same cathode that goes in our cell. So whether it's high nickel or lithium iron phosphate or whatever it is, they're going to have to do that anyway. We could help develop a supply chain locally for the things that are critical to us, like the salt that goes into our solvent and salt liquid electrolyte, and obviously the lithium metal foil. So those are things that we're working on. You know, it's too soon to be able to give you a very specific answer, but those are things that our CEO is thinking about every day.
Eric, we have online attendee asking two questions. One is if you can speak to the charging characteristics and if you can compare your technology with the current lithium ion chemistry.
Sure.
And we have, I think, maybe a minute and a half left.
Okay, so charging, as far as charging goes, we've said we have the ability to fast charge. We've given out that information. So fast charging is not a problem. And if they want, there's information on our website with regard to that. The difference in our chemistry, we are very similar to that of lithium ion. You know, so what's different is we're taking the graphite out, we're substituting graphite for that lithium metal foil, which I explained before. And the electrolyte we make it's similar to the way an electrolyte works in a lithium ion battery. It's just the electrolyte is proprietary to us and allows lithium metal to work. As far as the cathode goes, I've said we're agnostic. We use the same cathode, whether it's a high nickel cathode or an LFP cathode, as what is found in a lithium-ion battery today. So there's no substantial differences in terms of the chemistry.
Eric, thank you very much. If there are no other questions,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you.